Welcome. Imagine for a second a world with no medical labs, no blood tests, no x-rays, nothing. So how on earth did doctors figure out what was wrong with you? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on an ancient diagnostic technique that was part art, part science, and for centuries, the absolute gold standard. So let me ask you this. Before all our modern tech, what do you think was a doctor's number one most powerful diagnostic tool? How could they look deep inside a patient's body without actually, looking inside? The answer is probably not what you're thinking. For hundreds, even thousands of years, the answer was this, a simple flask of urine. But don't be fooled. This wasn't just a quick look. It was a deeply sophisticated practice called uroscopy. For physicians from ancient Greece all the way to the Renaissance, this little flask was basically their MRI, their blood test, their everything, all rolled into one. All right, so how did this actually work? Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the art of getting the perfect sample. And trust me, it was an art. Then we'll dive into the colors, from yellows and reds to the really alarming greens and darks. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of clarity, cloudiness, and sediment. And finally, we'll see how this ancient practice connects directly to the medical science we use today. First things first, you couldn't just hand the doctor any old sample. No. Getting an accurate reading demanded an incredibly strict set of rules. These ancient physicians knew that absolutely everything, from what you ate to what you were feeling, could change the final result. And when I say strict, I mean meticulous. The original medical texts lay out something like 17 different rules. For starters, it had to be the very first urine of the day. The patient couldn't eat or drink anything beforehand. They had to steer clear of foods like saffron that could stain the sample. And get this. Even things like excessive exercise or strong emotions like anger were off limits because they knew it would alter the body's balance. And I'm telling you, they noticed everything. Just look at this quote. They were so observant, they even documented how personal activities would affect the sample. This wasn't some wild guess. It was a system built on centuries of incredibly detailed observation, connecting a person's life directly to what they saw in that glass flask. Okay, so once that perfect sample was in hand, the real analysis could begin. And it always started with the most obvious property, the color. Let's start with the shades they saw most often, the yellows and the reds. Yeah, the sign of a healthy, well-balanced person was a nice, straw-colored urine. That was the gold standard. It meant your digestion was working and everything was in harmony. But if that color cranked up to a fiery, flame red, that was a huge red flag. It was a sign that the body's internal heat was way too high. Think a raging fever or a serious internal problem. But they didn't just see red. Oh no, they saw an entire spectrum. A delicate pink rose color might suggest just a hint of blood. A vivid, bright red, that pointed to a much bigger problem. A smoky red told them blood was present but mixed with other things. And, crucially, they knew how to tell the difference between a saffron color, which signaled a problem with yellow bile, and the reds that actually indicated blood. The level of nuance is just incredible. And you have to remember, the stakes here were incredibly high. An observation like this wasn't just a clinical note, it was a matter of life and death. A sudden change in thickness, paired with a very bloody appearance, was seen as a truly dire warning, a sign that the patient's illness was about to take a very serious turn for the worse. All right, but the diagnostic chart went way beyond just yellows and reds. The physicians were also on the lookout for more unusual and, frankly, more frightening colors that pointed to a whole different set of problems. Seeing a verdigris color, which literally translates to poisonous rust color, was pretty much one of the worst things a doctor could see. It was linked to an extreme imbalance of black bile, severe convulsions, and was often thought to be a clear sign of poisoning or that death was near. Yeah, seeing green was a serious emergency. But even dark urine wasn't straightforward. The doctor had to figure out why it was dark. Was it caused by heat or by cold? A dark color caused by heat usually had floating bits in it, while one caused by cold often had a greenish tint, and coarse stuff settled at the bottom. Context was everything. So what about white? Well, a thin, super clear white, almost like water, suggested a cold condition, that the body wasn't properly cooking or processing its nutrients. But a thick, opaque white, almost milky, that pointed to a totally different issue, a massive excess of phlegm, one of the 4 key humors. But believe it or not, color was just scratching the surface. To really get the full story, a doctor had to look even deeper into the very texture and substance of the liquid itself.
First up, they check the density. Now, this is different from how clear it is. It's about the thickness of the liquid. The old tests compare a dense but clear urine to olive oil. It has substance in body, but you can still see right through it. Next, they'd look for turbidity, which is basically what we'd call cloudiness. This happens when you have superfine particles just floating and mixed all the way through the liquid, making the whole thing hazy and murky. And finally, you have sediment. Now this is different. Sediment is made of visible particles that are separate from the liquid, and over time have all settled down to the bottom of the flask. You could actually see the individual bits. So why did all these little details matter so much? Because the sediment, what it looked like, where it was, could tell the doctor if an illness was about to hit its crisis. This was the critical turning point. It would tell them if the body was winning the fight and pushing the disease out, or if it was losing. This was their ultimate prognostic tool. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all seems so ancient. But the truth is, the legacy of this practice is all around us today. The fundamental idea of looking at urine for answers never really went away. Just look at the history. The process was organized by Hippocrates way back when, then it was perfected by brilliant minds like Ibn Sina, and it eventually became a core part of medicine in Europe for centuries. That direct line of thinking is what led to major breakthroughs, like when Richard Bright finally linked specific things he saw in urine to kidney disease, which is what paved the way for the modern urinalysis we rely on today. So when you really think about it, we've just swapped the glass flask and a good eye for chemical test strips and powerful microscopes. The tech is light years ahead, but the core principle, it's exactly the same. We're still using urine as a vital window into our health, an idea these ancient doctors understood perfectly. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? 1,000 years from now, will the doctors of the future look back at our MRIs and our detailed blood tests with that same sense of curiosity we feel looking at a medieval urine wheel? What other secret windows into the body are we just waiting to discover? Thanks for tuning in.